There already seems to be a lot of excitement for this Bible among the NASB fans because this is a NASB 95 that has just come out from Zondervan in the Classic Reference Bible format, which is a very beloved format. People have used that a lot for many years. And I would call this really kind of a new take on an old design. So we will see what that looks like and also compare it to a couple of other Bibles. But the one that I'm looking at is in the buffalo leather. It is brown, genuine leather. And this one comes in a really nice clamshell box. I absolutely love the aesthetic design that Zondervan has come out with for the NASB Bibles in recent times. You can see this box here just has such a nice, beautiful look to it. You have this smooth section here, and then you also have kind of a wood grain textured section of the box here. It's not real wood, but it does have a texture to it. So very, very elegant, nice box, which tells you right off the bat that they've put a lot of care into this product. Here's the back of the box, so you can get a good look at all of the features. It does say here that it is a Smithsonian edge-line construction, double column verse by verse format. That's the classic format that we're going to look at. It says it has over 17,000 translator notes, around 17,000. So I think that is all the NASB translator notes, which again is something that NASB fans will be very excited about with this. It is a red letter text for the words of Christ. It does have 14 in-text charts and maps. We'll look at a couple of those at least. And it's got a lot of other features here too. Another really great thing to see is that it is in a 9.5 point print size. Traditionally, that size of a text would sometimes have been considered a large print for a Bible. This is not advertised as large print, but as we get inside, you will see that it is a really good size print for the size of the Bible. Speaking of the size of the Bible, I just want to say right off the bat that one of the things I'm really happy about is the size of this Bible. This falls into that Goldilocks size range that I've talked about recently. It's just a really good size for doing different things, using this Bible for kind of an all-round purpose. It's less than 9 inches tall by a little over 5.5 inches wide, and definitely less than 1.5 inches thick, but a little bit more than 1.25, so maybe 1 3/8 inches thick. That's just an estimate on the dimensions there, but that gives you the idea. It's kind of that 8.5 by 5.5 page size that I really like because it's very easy to carry, transport, very nice to hold in your hand, but not so small that the print is going to be hard to read. Looking at the outside buffalo leather cover here, you can see it is a really nice, really great looking brown color, nice grain to it, and it is perimeter stitched. The spine also, I think, looks really nice with those raised spine hubs, and I really think that the print on this is a good size print for the size of the spine. And I think they did a good job of kind of having proportions that make sense. So the Holy Bible is the largest print. Then you see the translation here, NASB, a little bit smaller print, and then the smallest print is for the brand name. So I really like the way they did that. It's also not overkill. It's not too much on the spine there. It's just enough information, but I think it really does look nice. There's the back cover. And it is an edge-line construction for this genuine leather edition. They do have, I think, a couple of leather soft editions. And leather soft would be a imitation leather and probably would be a paste-down construction. This, as you can see, is edge-lined. So the liner here is tabbed into the text block here. That gives it extra durability. And it does say here that it is a buffalo leather cover. It does have a gold gilt line around the edge. And one thing I really like about this Bible is the color scheme. It is brown and gold. You see that with the cover, the gilt on the side, but also the ribbons are brown and gold. Really nice angle cut, double-sided satin ribbons. 3/8 inch thick ribbons, which Zondervan, I think, has been putting on more of their Bibles, and people are really happy about that. And then this gold gilt underneath actually has red art gilt. A little bit of a red hue there, I think you can see. And then going along with that brown and gold color scheme, you have the brown end sheet. And then the presentation page is also brown and gold and white. Here's the publisher title page. And as you see, again, it is the NASB 95. So this is not the latest edition of the NASB, but it is an edition of the NASB that a lot of people really do like. And you will also see here it is printed in China. This is from 2021. And it looks like it is the first printing. I've got plenty of traffic outside right now. I apologize. There's the contents page. I'll quickly leaf through the front here. It's pretty similar to what you'll see in other Zondervan NASB Bibles, I think. And then you get into the Old Testament with the title page. And one of the features about the Classic Reference Bible is that it has these book introductions, and they're really nice. They're not too long, but they give you some good information with the title and background, author and date of writing, theme and message, and then even a book outline, which I think is really nice. And then you can see here the biblical text. That's the 9.5 font, Comfort Print, and it has center column references and translator notes. And if there are too many for the center column, they come to the bottom right corner here. But this is a classic NASB format, being verse by verse. And they do designate paragraphs by the bold verse numbers. So if you see a bold verse number, that signifies that you're looking at a new paragraph. You will also see that any poetry is put in a poetic format. The columns are justified on both sides, so it just has a very nice, organized look to it, with it being verse-by-verse format and the way the columns are set up. I like this format. It really just makes my nerdy brain happy when I see it for some reason. I think because it just looks so organized, so orderly the way that it's laid out. And if you are teaching, the verse-by-verse format is really nice for easily being able to find the verse that you're on. Here's more of the poetic setting. And this is a line match text. So though it does have some ghosting, it's really not too noticeable. That's one thing I like about Bibles that are not trying to be too thin. I think that they're able to have paper that has a little bit better opacity than a lot of thin line Bibles. So I wanted to show at least a couple of charts here. They do have some in-text charts and maps, so here's one of them. What I like is this does give a little bit of extra information. It's not just the biblical text, but it's also not overloaded with information like you get in some Bibles, which if they're a study Bible, they're made for that. But with this Bible, you're going to get just a little bit of extra helps to help you study the Bible and understand it better. So that's where these book introductions are really good, as well as the maps and charts that are in text. Getting to the end of the Old Testament, you'll see that there is another chart here, which is really neat. It tells about the time from Malachi to Christ. So you have a timeline there. And that helps you to understand what's happening in between the period of the two testaments. And you have the New Testament title page, Book of Matthew with another introduction here. And you see the normal NASB format with the Old Testament quotes in capital letters there, small caps. And then we see here what the red letter text looks like for the words of Christ. And this red letter is what we've been seeing in Zondervan and Nelson Bibles. Really nice. It's not the darkest red that you'll ever see, but it's definitely not a bright, hard to read, faded out red. It's actually very crisp and quite easy to read. Has a nice color to it, and it's very consistently printed from what I can see, which is pretty hard to do with red letter. So nice red letter text. I know not everybody likes red letter, but for those who do, they will appreciate that. Here's another chart that's in this Bible. In the book of Matthew here, you have the Jewish sects that are listed out, the Pharisees, Sadducees, Essenes, and Zealots. And this gives you information about each of those first century groups. And then here is an in-text map. So there's 14 of these extra helps that are in this Bible. Not a whole lot, but they seem to be in some real key places to really just help you visualize or understand a little bit more background. So here are the countries of people mentioned at Pentecost, which fittingly is right around Acts chapter 2. And then getting to the end of the Bible, and you can see the biblical text here is about 1,393 pages. You have a dictionary concordance thesaurus, which is a little unusual title for a section like this. It is basically a concordance. It does have some extra words on the sides of the entry, which helps you understand what those words are referring to. And I guess that's why they also call it a thesaurus, although that's kind of a surprising name to give to this section. I've never heard of a Bible having a thesaurus. So very nice concordance. And then after the concordance, dictionary thesaurus, you also have a note regarding the type, which is from 2K Denmark. Then you have the maps printed on glossy cardstock paper, the typical Zondervan maps, very colorfully printed, and some really good, useful information for those who like maps. Then your final end sheet, and as you can see, same as the front there. The liner, I'm not sure what that's made of, but it is an edge-line construction, as I said, and should hold up quite well. I do want to mention a couple of things about this Bible that I think could be improved, and one of them actually has to do with that gilt line. It's actually very nicely done, but I think it gets covered up a little bit by the text block on the top and the bottom. So it would be really nice if they would actually make this cover just a little bit bigger, because the point of that gilt line is actually to frame the whole text block. And visually, you're supposed to be able to see it around the text block. That's just a very minor thing. The other thing is that when you first get this Bible, it is very tightly bound. So it took me a while to get it to open up well like this, although I will say it's opened up pretty nicely, pretty quickly. But in my opinion, I've seen other Bibles that are edge-lined that are not so tightly bound right off the bat, and I think they could do it in such a way that even when you first get it out of the box, it could open up a little bit more nicely. But again, if you break it in, work with it, it will start to open up like you see here. The one other thing that I think, just a quality control thing, I do notice some pages here, maybe you can see it with the map. The printing is just a little bit offline. It's not perfectly lined up to my eye. Maybe you can see that here with the map. And I noticed some of the biblical text was a little bit that way. It's not very noticeable. It's very minor, I think it's mainly in the back that I saw it. And maybe some of you can't even tell. It is not far off alignment, but it is a little bit off. And that's one of the things about mass-produced Bibles that are not, really expensive. You're going to sometimes get little imperfections. And even with expensive Bibles, this kind of thing can happen. But I don't think it'll necessarily be in every copy. It's just something that I noticed. Again, one of those quality control things. But it's very minor. I personally wouldn't send a Bible back for being a little bit off like that. So that's a look at the inside of this Bible. The format, as I said, very classic, very well loved. But with that comfort print, it is an updated new take on an old design. And to show you what an older Zondervan Reference Bible looks like, I'm going to actually take an NIV here from the early 2000s, printed by Zondervan, and show you the comparison. And actually, this is listed as a 9-point font, this as a 9.5. So they're very similar size font, and yet actually you'll see here that this is a larger page. So I love that they were able to get the same size font into this smaller format. Granted, this is a thin line, so that's really the difference between these two Bibles, is that the older one, the NIV, is a thin line. So they had to accommodate for the space in some way, so they made it taller and wider. But I really like the form factor of this Bible. When you compare the poetry sections, you'll actually see that the readability overall in this newer edition is better than the older Bible because it is line matched, and that comfort print is printed nice and darkly and crisply. One other difference I think you can probably see here is that in older reference Bibles, more often you would see lines separating the references from the biblical text. Here you will not see any lines. But I'm going to show that this NASB is actually a lot like another Bible that a lot of people love. Very classic. And that is the Esv Reference Bible. So both of these Bibles, I think you can tell, are formatted very similarly. This ESV, again, actually is a 9-point font. So very similar to the font that we're looking at here in the NASB. The page size is actually very similar. And there are no lines separating the references from the biblical text. So it's almost like Zondervan really took a cue from what Crossway had done with their classic reference Bibles. Let's look at some non-poetic setting. And again, what you'll see here is how these Bibles have some similarities. The ESV Reference Bible actually has some book introductions. However, the NASB from Zondervan actually has a little bit more information and a book outline. But actually looking at the text itself, you can see just quite a bit of similarity, although those are two different kinds of fonts. This is a lexicon font. This is the comfort print. And honestly, they're both very readable, both printed boldly. However, the ESV is not line matched. So especially in the poetic settings, I would say that this one is more readable. Both have concordances in the back, although this one does not have a thesaurus. But this one does actually have illustrations along with maps, which is a really nice section that you'll see in some of these ESV reference Bibles. I mean, isn't that great? And then it also does have maps at the very back there. The NASB just has maps at the back, as we saw before, but it does have some of that in-text information, like these maps here, which you don't get in the ESV. I don't think the Reference Bible from ESV has any in-text maps. All right, we'll look at one more page here with these two Bibles together. This page has both prose and poetry. And I think, again, you see that there's a lot of similarity between these two Bibles. So if you have an ESV Reference Bible and you like it a lot, I'm sure you would really like the format of this NASB Classic Reference as well. And the fact that they do have it available now in a buffalo leather edition with a beautiful box. And by the way, this retails for $129.99. So about $130 retail price. You can get it between $90 and $100 right now online. And they also, as I said, have some leather soft editions, which would be quite a bit cheaper. But this is nice because it is a good quality leather, but it's not in that super expensive premium range of Bibles. So it's still quite affordable. And as I said, it's a great size and has all of the wonderful features packed into this Bible in a format that people have loved for many years. So this is so exciting to see the new Comfort Print edition from Zondervan of the NASB 95 in the Classic Reference Bible edition. I would love to hear any thoughts or questions that you have in the comment section below, but thank you so much for taking some time to look at this Bible with me from a fresh perspective.